What started out as a great week in Japan ended in chaos in the States for New Japan Pro Wrestling, as the Resurgence and Dynamite cards seemed to throw the New Japan cards in a disarray, while the Best of Super Junior seems to outkick its coverage. We're going to talk about all this and more. I'm Jeremy Finestone, and this is Speaking of Strong Style. Hello, and welcome to Speaking of Strong Style. I'm Jeremy Finestone. I'm going to be your host on this ride today for New Japan Pro Wrestling as we recap the week that was in New Japan Pro Wrestling. It's just me this week. Steven is still in Japan on a romantic mission with his wife to seek his partner to seek the sights and such. And so I'm here. You're here. We're going to talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling. We're going to talk about the Resurgence card, which was fine, but has since reinforced that the domestic New Japan product is just an indie promotion with access to AEW and New Japan talent rather than an extension of what's going on in the Japanese world. We're going to talk about the 4 nights of the Best of Super Junior, which I think has been really fantastic action up to this point. And we'll take some questions that we've had from the group in the Discord, as well as preview the Dominion card. So without further ado, let's check in these comments here. We got Brad. Hello, Brad. What is good, Jeremy? We got Colin. Hello, Colin. And we got Jeremy, or hello, Jeremy. Welcome back. Thank you. Brad, comment here. This might be the last New Japan America show. Bye-bye. Brad, if I didn't have a New Japan podcast, I might be there with you. This was an exceptionally frustrating card, and we can get into it right away if you want to, but, you know, if it's just like pulling the Band-Aid off, if you will. We had what was originally an 8-match card, ended up being a 9-match card. And it was all right for what it was, but the direction of the Resurgence card and the way that they got about to getting some of the angles felt supremely unsatisfying and maybe not in service to the New Japan product as much as it would be in service to the AEW and New Japan product, and that isn't what I sign up for when it comes to the New Japan of America product. It's frustrating. The bones are there for a fantastic product. But let's run through this card, and we'll get to it. So CJ Tino and Alan Breeze had a really quick 5-minute match. Strong Survivor. If you remember the concept, the winner keeps on the pre-shows until they're eventually up on the card. Matt Vandegrift, Zane Jay were both those guys. Zane Jay is now in Japan, ceded the title. It was vacant. These guys fought for it. CJ Tino won. Good story, right? Next one we had was Bea Priestley showed up. She was recently released in the WWE Cups, and apparently her 90 days are up. So she showed up here, and she's the top gaijin is back. She made short work of Viva Van, who came out to challenge her, and it looks like we might have somebody to be challenging Izumi down the line or anywhere. Bea Priestley is rebuilding her stock outside of WWE, and this is just to find places anywhere for her to make her name, maybe go back to Stardom. Check that out. I would imagine she ends up in AEW doing a match or two, but I don't know. You know, it's like there are relationships there that might not want to be tampered with, you know, between Will Ospreay and her. Could be, could not be, not necessarily sure. We don't talk about the personal stuff here as much as we don't want to. But this is the logistics of the realities of where people can work. And, you know, if you can wrestle, if you have talent, if you're a star, they work this stuff out. That's just the way it is. All right, so we got to the main card. We had Fred Rosser defeating Matt Vandegrift. This was a fine match. I like Fred Rosser. I think he brings him to the card, but he seems to be de-escalated by New Japan to the opening. He was doing the tag with Fred Rosser or Tom Lawler, Fred Rosser was, and then he did the tag with Matt Vandegrift, and then, Vandegrift turned on him, and Fred Rosser beat him. Afterwards, Fred Rosser announced that this was his last appearance with New Japan, and he was leaving, and for all intents and purposes in the backstage comments, he said goodbye, and I'm not going to lie, I kind of felt bad when I heard that, and, I thought he did a lot of good work coaching in the New Japan Dojo in LA, and he was an asset, and I hope that he finds what he is looking for in his next ventures. Matt Vandegrift, he wrestled like a babyface, but he was a heel. He's got a weird look problem. He's got an issue with his composure in the ring in between the moves. Like he jiggles, he moves around in a way that just feels not quite big league. I don't really know how to put it. He just needs to work on it. The selling in between the moments. It's something people get mad at me when I use this phrase, but like the notes in between the music, like there are the little things that just tie the big parts together. And when I see it selling, that's the part that, Next up, we had the New Japan Strong Openweight Tag Team title match with the United Empire of Templario and TJP defeating the world-class Wrecking Crew in 13 minutes and 12 seconds when TJP rolled up Jor-El Nelson for a win. TJP's hometown, I'm not going to lie, I did not expect this to happen. It did happen. My goodness. They put the New Japan Strong title on him with Templario. World-class Wrecking Crew deserve better, number one. But they are business people. And, it does feel like this is an indie promotion and these guys are working dates. And, they're not going to be working the next date or not going to be working an important part of the next date. If they can give TJP something to do in the States under the New Japan banner while, they figure out what is going to happen with him in Japan, sure, fine. Backstage comment, TJP mentioned he wasn't wearing any green because he was in fact all decked in red while Templario was decked in his green gear. And he did a Pinocchio riff where, look at me, there's no strings on me, but there's no green on me instead. So he might not be in United Empire much longer. They might try and make him happy. I understand he went on the Super J Cast and decided to, air some more thoughts. They're interacting at least on Twitter. So whatever, and hear what he has to say, that's fine. The whole thing just kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Speaking of leaving a bad taste in my mouth, we have an 8-man tag team match in which the Good Brothers rejoined New Japan Pro Wrestling to team up with the Young Bucks to face off against Clark Connors, David Finlay, Gabe Kidd, and Ghetto. And my goodness, the dynamics of this match. The dynamics of this match, everybody. The Bullet Club War Dogs, who are current top baby faces in Japan, just won War Dogs cage match against the House of Torture. 30 minutes, just straight carnage against each other. Everyone bleeds, gets destroyed like crazy. They come out here, they're heels to the Good Brothers and the Young Bucks, who the Young Bucks are heels over in AEW, but because they're the biggest stars at this New Japan show and it's their hometown, they're cheered like baby faces. I don't know if this was the plan. I don't know if this was the dynamic that they were thinking, but none of this worked for me. It was cognitive dissonance the entire time. The Good Brothers put us all out of our misery when the Young Bucks gave a Meltzer driver on Ghetto, and then after that, we got the Magic Killer. And the reality is, this serves no purpose. We're going to get to it in a minute, but after the War Dogs and the former Bullet Club old guard, there's an offer of a too sweet, and the War Dogs walk away. It's confusing. Absolutely confusing. Why did we do this? I'm not even sure. And Brad makes a good point. The Good Brothers at least seem to have brought their working boots for one match, and sure, that's fine, but diminishing returns, number one. They are that friend that, like, every time they come by, you're like, your stuff's just a little, like, worse. And it seems like a good time, but after a while, they wear out their welcome. And, you know, when it's over, you're happy to see them go. And I feel like they've overstayed their welcome a few too many times. The never open weight title situation with Carl Anderson and WWE and New Japan 2 or 3 years ago still leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And yeah, so Zenkin here says, I'm more confused, to be honest, about why Kid is in AEW teaming with the Elite. Oh, we will get there because I too am confused. I think this is all leading to Forbidden Door. It is what it is. When we are in the States and it is not WWE, we are all bowing down to AEW, regardless of what promotion that we are in. And I like AEW, but there are times where their cooperation with New Japan leaves me flabbergasted, leaves me a little discombobulated, maybe. Just a little, like, sensory deprived. Like, what's happening here? Am I being gaslit here? That's the kind of thing that I'm thinking about. Hey, Addie Carver says she just graduated. Congratulations. I hope that you succeed in life. Good times. Next up, we had Tomohiro Ishii defeated Drilla Maloney in the same match time as the one before 1339, an eminently more enjoyable match. He brainbusted the heck out of Drilla at the end of this match, but these guys went hard. This is in a great spot for Tomohiro Ishii to have. I wish Drilla Maloney was in the cage match or in the 8-man match before, but I get him being in this one to stretch out the card. They were going to be heels no matter what they said or did. But this was a bright spot, even though, you know, Drilla should have been a babyface. Speaking of a continual bright spot in this show was the never open weight title match with Konosuke Takeshita defeating El Phantasmo. Anyone with the time machine will go back to the G1 last year and remember that El Phantasmo was one of the people that upset Takeshita in the G1. And so Takeshita's kind of been chasing that victory back, kind of the way he's been doing it with Oleg Bolton. Really trying to seal that deal, although I think they might have had a singles match already. Anyways, ELP and Takeshita, they had a draw for the New Japan World title the weekend before. And so here we are here, and with 17:48 past the TV title time limit time, it took a Raging Fire, a power driver knee, a rolling elbow, and a Raging Fire to put ELP away. And Takeshita just looks like a main event star. No matter what he does and what he says, it just, yeah. Afterwards, Takeshita offered a handshake to ELP in a sign of respect, in which ELP accepted and kind of ignored Rocky Romero, which shows us that there is at least some continuity there where when Takeshita is in New Japan, he's a different version of Takeshita than he is in AEW, and that might just be his contempt for AEW and kayfabe. So we'll see how that plays out. But he is a strong babyface in New Japan, and you can't convince me otherwise. Next up, we had right back down, cratering this show. Unintentionally, I don't think, but there was some mystifying booking decisions to close out the show. First off, the IWGP Heavyweight title match was booked in the semi-main between Hiroki Goto and Zack Sabre Jr., which I was never certain this title was going to change, right? Just didn't seem like it was going to be the night in Ontario, California, in front of... I had the number here at some point, but I lost it. Not a lot of people. Just rough. Let's see here. 2,027 people. Title change? I don't think so. what we got was not even a finish. We got a double pinfall draw off of a suplex in which Goto's shoulders were on the rope as he was trying to pin Zack Sabre Jr. Nobody was happy about this. Nobody liked this whatsoever. It seemed like a colossal mistake, and it didn't do anything for Goto's reign, good or bad. I don't think it did anything for Zack Sabre Jr. I think it probably sets up a whole dynamic of Zack Sabre Jr. potentially turning heel because, 2025 has not been kind to the TMDK faction in New Japan Pro Wrestling. And with the War Dogs turning babyface, that kind of leaves an opportunity for another faction to turn heel. I don't know. It's just something to think about, something to keep your eyes on, something to kind of have your radar about if you were thinking about it. The match itself was fine. But when you're going 17 minutes and you end with basically a no contest and the guy retains the title and nothing really happens, but you don't get anything definitive, you feel unfulfilled in a wrestling show. It's just kind of like, oh, really? It's going to be that kind of show? You're not getting the finality. You feel like you're getting the build up to something else. And sometimes these shows, that inherently that this is not the conclusion to the journey, but you just want to feel like you're getting some finality with the ticket that you're buying because this is a pay-per-view show. This is being branded as a $20 edition on the New Japan World. Everything that I watched, not for $20, for the base price of what I got in New Japan World, was better than this show. I stand by that. Every one of the best of Super Junior cards I watch are better than this show. That's a problem. And I don't want to feel that way. I don't want to come on this show and tell you that I'm frustrated with paying $20 for a show that feels like it's catering to this niche of people that just want to see everything service to AEW. This is a New Japan of America. This is Rocky Romero's priority has got to be booking this show with as much New Japan talent as possible and as much New Japan-centric talent as he can. If Mercedes Moné and Takeshita are the guys that you build around them. If you want to bring the Young Bucks in, bring them in and do a tag match. But if you're bringing them in to give their guys a shot, who does that benefit? Is this crowd, when we all watched this show, did it feel like it was a New Japan crowd? Or did it feel like it was a crowd there for the Young Bucks and popping for their moves? It's arguable either way. But when you read stuff like the Young Bucks didn't even get paid for this show because they wanted the Good Brothers to be on it, it's like, I get it. But you're going to put them over? You're going to have them beat the top babyface, badass act in Japan, Gabe Kidd, and then we'll get to the main event in just 1 second. And then we have the AEW Dynamite main event the other night. Last night, sure. It's Samoa Joe. It's Jon Moxley. They're building up a giant thing for Double or Nothing. We got Anarchy in the arena. My God. I can't believe what I saw last night. We had interference to the max. And it's a cage match. You kind of knew building up that Jon Moxley was going to win. Samoa Joe was going to lose. It was going to lead to a big old thing, a 5-on-5, maybe a 6-on-6, whatever. Sure. Great. In my wildest dreams, everybody, I do not understand what I saw when Gabe Kidd in a hoodie rolled into the side of the ring with the briefcase title so that Jon Moxley could club Samoa Joe with the belt and win. And then the Young Bucks and Gabe Kidd are side by side, presumably together in Anarchy in the arena, just days after these guys are in an 8-man against each other. No reason, completely inexplicable. We're supposed to just smile and nod. It's the same people booking the AEW show that have these guys over in New Japan, as if that show did not matter. Am I supposed to tell? They clearly referenced the main event that happened afterwards, in which, I'll get to it again. Azumi defeated Mercedes Moné by pinning the other person, as my esteemed colleague Scotty Wrestling mentioned last week on the show, was a distinct possibility, and made a compelling argument, called his shot, take the victory lap, sir. You did that, and I'm appreciative you did it on my show. Thank you. Made me look good too, so much appreciated. But later in the show, the same show earlier, Mercedes Moné attacks Azumi in revenge for Azumi winning that title off of Mercedes Moné the night before. And then in the main event, we're supposed to act like Gabe Kidd teaming up with Jon Moxley after they've had their awards in Japan. I get that part. Jon Moxley only teams up people they bleed with each other. Totally fine, great. That's fine. But the Young Bucks make no sense. The Young Bucks make absolutely no sense as to why they are aligned with Gabe Kidd, other than they want these guys in Anarchy in the arena, and by God, we're just going to make this happen. Bums me out because it insults us as an audience who are paying attention to a bunch of different things, who want to see, like, sewing the thread into the quilt. You know what I mean? Like, you want the design to look good. You want the bones of the car to look good. You want this all to work. You don't want it slapped together at the very end and then convincing everybody around you, oh no, it really did work at the very end. Oh no, like, this was good. Like, it's all doing, like, you've had all year. For the most part, none of these guys have really been injured. You could have directed this in a different way. If New Japan is booking these guys as baby faces, change your fucking plans, Tony Khan. I'm sorry. Figure out a different plan in which you can use these guys to the best of their ability. Educate the audience that these guys are baby faces. Do what you have to do, because when you respect the New Japan product, you are going to get a better reception to these shows, other than shoehorning what you think is what the audience wants to see based off of what you're paying attention to in New Japan. Yeah, Gabe Kidd and Kenny Omega had a fantastic match at Wrestle Dynasty. Yeah, you want to call that back and have them in the ring together? Makes a whole ton of sense. Gabe Kidd is a glue that ties a whole lot of storylines together. Do you want to bring Eddie Kingston back at Anarchy in the Arena and get a revenge on Gabe Kidd for a New Japan injury that happened, in which Gabe won the strong title that he just recently lost to Tomohiro Ishii? Do you want to do it there? Sounds like a great idea. Having Eddie Kingston coming back, which always seemed to be around the right time that it would happen, also a great idea. It's how you get there, though. The build to this, the inexplicable pinballing between what happened at Resurgence, what happened at Dynamite, what you're planning on doing at Double or Nothing, followed by what's going to happen at Dominion when Gabe Kidd is challenging Yota Tsuji. I don't know. They may have completely torpedoed the optics of that match. I've seen the social media where, people are not happy with Gabe Kidd in Japan. Like, the traditional people that are Shin Nihon, like, this guy loves New Japan, they don't think that right now. They think, oh, he's just in it for the money. It's just what he says. Did he lose his goodwill? Did he lose that vibe? Did he lose that special moment? I don't know. But of what the fan reaction is in New Japan, they're shooting themselves in the foot rather than cooperating and making the best show that they can with what status of the wrestlers that they are. It's just what you seem to have to do in order to get the most dedicated people in wrestling to get on your side, is to respect as much of the product in both promotions as you can to deliver the best product overall. Right now, the strong product feels like an indie promotion with access to AEW talent and New Japan talent. It's hard to take it seriously. It's hard to treat it canonically, but they're picking and choosing. And I don't want to be upset. I don't want to feel like I'm wasting $20 and my Friday night for these shows, but that's how I felt. It's like I got to work real early on a Saturday morning. And I watched about half that show, and I was like, you know what? I'm good. If I find out what happens, okay, but I'm going to watch the rest of the morning. And then I watched the best of the Super Juniors, and I was much, much happier after work watching that. And then I finished the Resurgence card, and I just took a deep sigh. I wrote my notes, and I revisited the show later on to make sure I didn't feel if it wasn't a one-off thing. And I watched it a little bit more on Tuesday, and I was like, no, this is the feeling. It was a disappointing night. I feel like I went and I saw the Strong Style Evolve show in 2018, right? Let's look up the card on that. Oh, I'm not even going to find it. It's fine. Rey Mysterio's on that card. Kota Ibushi and Kenny Omega versus the Young Bucks was on that card. Okada was on that card. Naito was on the card. Hiromu was on the card. It was a big deal show, right? Like Jay White and Hangman Page had a singles match for the U.S. title at the time, United States title, I believe. Really, really great card. You look at that versus the card that they did for Resurgence, and it's like no wonder. In Long Beach, California, they killed it with lines around the corner, and then they got 2,000 for the show. And it was the Young Bucks, and it's good for them. Good for drawing out. But it wasn't exciting. It wasn't like, ooh, wow, this card is wild. They didn't even make the IWGP title the main event. They booked it. They told you all the way through the show, all the way up to the show, this was the main event. And then they kind of, told you it was a co-main event with Mercedes Moné and Azumi and Mina Shirakawa. And you're like, okay, sure. And the show happens, and that's the main event. You're like, okay. Mercedes Moné is a bigger star in the States than Zack Sabre Jr. and Hiroki Goto combined. I get that. Sometimes you just make a different call. It is what it is. Hello, Fernando. Thanks for checking in. We are just talking about the Resurgence card and getting into the main event after I went off for about 10 minutes about AEW Dynamite, Resurgence, coordination, cooperation, and booking between two major promotions heading into Forbidden Door. So you didn't miss much. Feel free to catch up. We're getting to the main event here. This was every three-way that you've seen with three totally capable talents. The story of the match was Mercedes was just trying to get the pin on any one of them, and they just kept stopping each other from getting her from the win. It makes sense why we didn't have the one-on-one match that I was frustrated that we were going to get, because this was a device to get Mercedes Moné's title off of her. Azumi rolled up Shirakawa for a pin as Mercedes desperately tried to climb in, was shocked. We got the victory, and then that, as they say, was that. As I mentioned later on, in the run-up to the Double or Nothing show, there was an eliminator match in which Mina Shirakawa won a title shot against Toni Storm for the women's title, but Azumi was involved in that match, and she was exiting the ring, making her way up the ramp. Mercedes Moné jumped her, laid her out, was about to kill her some more when Jamie Hayter came out, who is Mercedes Moné's opponent for the pay-per-view. So it's clearly not going to be Azumi and Mercedes at Double or Nothing. So we're setting up potentially Forbidden Door, a one-on-one match. Mercedes could get the title back there, could not. Not exactly sure, but we're setting up something there for the one-on-one. But doing it on Dynamite makes sense because there really isn't any other opportunity to do it, because there are no New Japan Strong shows currently booked until at least after the G1. And so we'll see what happens there. Totally fine match. All the women are competent. They rule. Everything is great. But yeah, so let's see. Let's check the comments here. I ended up fielding a bunch of comments from the Discord. So if you want to get comments or questions ahead of time, email gg@fightgamemedia.com. And then you can join our Discord. In addition to that, you can join the Speak of Strong Style page on Facebook for all the latest show updates, field questions there, that kind of thing. Liking it, subscribing there gives more visibility. I literally just built the page as a lark because we didn't have any real home base for our audio, which we do stream an audio feed. After the show, when Stephen Conway is back, he will be uploading that today. Got that for you right now, Stephen. I hope you're doing well over in Japan as you are listening to this. And so, yeah, those are all the big things. Like and subscribe to Fight Game Media Network. We got the 5-Star Joshi Show. We got the Power Bomb Shows, which is Sam and Mel on Sunday morning, afternoon, depending on where you live. Talk about all the important news in AEW, WWE, New Japan, life news, basically like important things about speaking out, Me Too, politics within wrestling companies, who can work where and why, and whether it's problematic, whether people need to be better, that kind of thing. Fernando Zayas mentioned that it's a big week for Japanese wrestlers and a huge week for women's Japanese wrestlers. Not going to disagree with you there. I think the Best of the Super Juniors has really been a strong show, a strong set of shows, and there's also been some AEW talent that I think has shown out better on New Japan television and New Japan programming than any of the other big stars up to this point, and we'll get to that in a few seconds. Let's check out some of these questions they have. If there's anything that feels like moving on. Okay, Kevin Ely asked, present the case for Goto as wrestling's best current babyface. So, right now we got Tony Storm as a top babyface. We got Jey Uso as a top babyface. Who else is a really good top babyface right now? Is Cody a top babyface right now, seeing as he hasn't been on TV for the last 3 weeks and he lost to John Cena? I don't want to say like a geek, but not presented as a great babyface in that moment. You can argue Will Ospreay, but is he at his peak or is he at his climb? Right now he's at his ascent, and I think Goto might be at his top. Since Goto has been champion, the ticket sales year over year have gone up. The viewing year over the year has gone up. The merchandise has gone up. And the interest in New Japan Pro Wrestling has gone up. He really outkicked his coverage. And he's the top champion in the top Japanese promotion in the world, which is still a small potato perspective compared to the Western wrestling. But the only person that's a champion and a top babyface that might have the inch on him is Tony Storm. And I'm fine with that comp. I'm not sure Io Sky is at the peak of her top babyfaceness. I'm not necessarily sure that Tiffany Stratton is a really top babyface. So I'm starting to struggle to think of who else might be in the argument, if anyone else has a thought on who might be that. But I'm saying Goto's the guy right now. I think that no one has been booked as strong, as powerful, and as rooted in the power of the fans pushing him along in the Goto Revolution as Hiroki Goto. You got to remember that David Finlay match, unbelievable. Unbelievable how badly he kicked David Finlay's ass. This guy, in September, had insulted Goto's kids, had humiliated him, had denied him the global title, and he came in winning the New Japan Cup, or he came in afterwards, and he was just like, I'm the guy. I'm going to win this. Finley, he didn't win the New Japan Cup. That was showed in the window. For some reason, I just spouted that out. He comes in there. He goes in there. Now I think he might have. I'm all jumbled on this thing. He goes in there, and he just gets his ass kicked. Just beaten badly. And I just sat there, and he took the 3 GTRs, one for his son, one for his daughter, and one for him. And I was like, there's no bigger babyface in the world right now. That was Cody WrestleMania style, vindication. And in, the backdrop of that, I don't think you can argue against that momentum. In 3 weeks and 4 weeks, this could all change. We could have a new top babyface in the world, all these things. But I'm saying right now, Hiroki Goto is the top babyface in all of pro wrestling. All right, let's take that down. You guys ready to talk some best of the Super Juniors? Yeah? No? Let's see. Fernando Zayas said, I'm excited for Mina versus Timeless at Double or Nothing. Yes, I am too. I laughed immensely last night on Dynamite when Mina came out. And I was like, wait a minute. That's not her music. And apparently, Tony Khan was paying attention to the internet reaction, and he changed Mina Shirakawa's new music back to her old music for when she won the match. My fellow co-host in Trouble here, Fight Game Media, Kila Cash mentioned it was a vibe. Mina's new music. And I was just like, I fucking hate it. Sorry, Jeremy Orr. I'm sorry for cursing, but I really did just hate it. And I felt so vindicated within 3 minutes that music was back. And Tony Khan was like, yeah, no, I'm changing music. That was my call. Called the audible. We're doing it back. I'm like, okay, good. At least we're all on the same page, at least on a few things. It was amazing. Let's see. Fernando mentioned, I know I came late. You probably already discussed this. Gabe Kidd in AEW is huge. Being Anarchy in the arena is awesome. It is awesome. I was frustrated with how they got there, but I cannot deny that Gabe Kidd is probably going to be an insane maniac in this match, and I hope that he comes out healthy for his match in Dominion the week later, because frankly, that's the priority to me. They just said they changed the theme and they hated it. Everybody hated it, Venkin. Everybody hated it. So, oh man. Venkin also mentioned he called Wayne beating Desperado. You are a master prognosticator, Venkin. Good job by you. That was probably one of the best matches in the tournament, and I guess that should lead us into talking about the best of the Super Juniors, in which I took some notes, and we're going to go for it. Night 1 of 3 A block matches, 2 B block matches. It was from Chiba, Japan, in the Yoha Arena. The attendance was 1,000. Steven, I'm doing this just for you, making sure I have all the notes in attendance, because I know how much you love that. First match, Nick Wayne pinned Show with a Prodigy Plex. Wayne fired up after Show disrespected the ROH TV title. Nick Wayne hasn't come out with that title every time, so it seems a little bit interesting. It's hard to say exactly what Nick Wayne is in AEW. I'm leaning towards the fact he's probably a babyface, but he is for sure a babyface here in the best of the Super Juniors. Next up, Dragon Dia pinned Yoshinobu Kanemaru with a sunset flip roll-up. Totally fine match. Everyone was just kind of, the new guys making their way in, trying to, get the thing, are getting wins on these first couple of nights. And that one was a good one. And then next up, we had Kosei Fujita, who defeated Francisco Akira with a thrill ride, which, my goodness, you guys, this is Fujita puts this guy on his shoulders, kind of like in a torture rack position, and then full front face slams the dude straight onto the ground. It looks so good. Kosei Fujita seems poised for big stuff in this tournament. He and Akira both are kind of our lock. Was Steven, Scott, and my locks for moving forward in the tournament. And the fact that their first match was on night one means that they could go 10 nights and still be like light years away from night one if they run it back in post-block play. But a fantastic match. The first one of the matches that I would recommend that you check out. The next one is an oldie but a goodie. Running it back, we had Hiromu Takahashi submitting Kushida with the maximum holding, which was a modified Boston Crab. These guys, years and years of wrestling with each other. It's just running it back. It's riding a bicycle. Is it their best match you've ever had? No. Is it like extremely competent and well wrestled among two veterans? Oh yeah. This is the good stuff, guys. All three of the matches running out the show, including the last one, were all completely fantastic matches. After that, we had Desperado and Teton. And Desperado submitted Teton with a numero dos to end out this match. And it was a fantastic match. I have to tell you on that one. I am going to get the times on these. Let's see here. 10:43 Nick Wayne pin show. Dragon Dai and Kanemaru was 10 minutes and 51 seconds. 12:03 was the Kosei Fujita win. Hiromu Takahashi 13:03 and Desperado in 14:10. Night 2, we had, let's see here, Ninja Mac and Robbie X. You guys saw this one on social media? Yeah? No? You guys know what I'm talking about? All right. This match had the social media moment in which Ninja Mac moved the Ninja Special. It's all over his YouTube. It's all over everywhere, frankly. I sent it to Brian Alvarez to talk about on Wrestling Observer Radio. I sent it to Dave. ESPN covered it. It's all over TikTok. This dude, at the beginning of the match, knocks Robbie X off the ring apron onto the floor. And then he does a space flying tiger drop into the far end of the ring. And then he does a handspring backflip, handspring backflip, handspring backflip, handspring backflip over the ring into the ground, handspring backflip, handspring backflip, handspring backflip, all the way up to the ramp, kicking Robbie in the head. Great spot. Goes about 17 seconds. If you haven't seen it, I urge you to check it out. I'm pretty sure I reposted it on my own X that you can find here, Jared Finestone, a.k.a. Dave Meltzer's pay-per-view buddy. You can find it there. This is fantastic stuff, guys. Please check it out. Really, really fun match. The end of it was a lot of acrobatics. A spinning kick to Robbie's head after Robbie springboarded off of the ropes ended the match in 7 minutes and 48 seconds. Totally over-delivered for what it was. The next one was Mao. He defeated Kevin Knight with a super kick in 9 minutes and 34 seconds. I was a little underwhelmed with Kevin Knight losing directly to his super kick when there are other moves that Mao had that were maybe a little more convincing as a finish later on in the tournament that I kind of wish that he would have employed here. I'll get to that when it happens. There was absolutely no mention whatsoever of Kevin Knight getting his ass handed to him by Okada and Rush on his last night at AEW Dynamite 3 or 4 days prior. So we're just coming in and watching Kevin Knight just get disassembled for the first, maybe second night of this tournament. Next up, we had Clark Connors and Master Wato. Clark Connors defeated Master Wato with a no chaser in 10 minutes and 35 seconds. this was exactly the match you'd think you'd have with these guys. Wasn't too flashy, wasn't supposed to steal the show, setting up for bigger matches, both of them later on, their time to shine, but totally fine for what it was. Afterwards, we had Robbie Eagles submitted Yo with the Ron Miller special in 15 minutes and 2 seconds. This kind of runs it back, getting a win back after, Yo took the title from Robbie Eagles earlier on in the month in the run-up to the shows here, run-up to Wrestling Dontaku at the Kuni no Hizen show, I believe. So, they run this one back. Robbie Eagles gets his win. Robbie Eagles is immensely talented. Yo's gimmick doesn't do much for me, but he really seems to be working hard, as well as working hard to get his gimmick over. And he's not the only guy in the show to be doing that, and I can't give him a hard time when people are hustling just as hard as him. Colin Matthew mentioned after Ninja Mac, everyone went nuts after the rope. He hit his head on the rope, by the way. Could have fooled me. Fair. I think Robbie X actually dinged his back against some metal awning as a result of that match, and that's where his nice little bandage on his back was later on. So, yeah, people were definitely looking bruised and beat up after the first couple of nights of the best of Super Juniors. That is for sure. So, yeah, we had those 2 nights. Those were both 5-match cards. We then went on to night 3 and night 4, and I'm going to show you guys the scores after we get through a couple of these nights, because I want to be able for you to walk away with one set of scores in your mind rather than building up to where we got to that point, because we're on this ride together. So the last match on that night was a tremendously good match. We had Desperado Taguchi submitting Taiji Ishimori in what was probably the most serious Taguchi match you'll have seen in the last 5 years. Really. He worked really, really hard, and you had to believe that he really was going to beat Taiji Ishimori. And you can't have him be a comedian. You gave him legitimacy on night 1. Now, the rest of the shows are going to be, this guy's a Chaos Goblin. He'll win or lose these matches predicated on what's dictated for how you need to book out who's winning or losing. But I have to tell you, for a work rate match, one night, the Taguchi of 10 years felt like he came back, and it was a great match. Good on him. Ninja Mac, comment Ninja Mac hit his head on the rope before his back flips to the curtain. Yep, gotcha. So, Taguchi ended up submitting Taiji Ishimori in the Oh My and Garankle, which is basically an ankle lock in an STF position like John Cena does, except you're focusing on the legs instead of going all the way to the guy's face. So, Brad mentions, it appears that we have butt match Taguchi for this tournament so far. I love it. You mean butt stuff Taguchi? I haven't seen a whole lot of butt stuff, which it feels like there were different matches on these shows where he got, we'll get there. But for the one night that he had his goblin stuff, big match Taguchi. Yep. We got big match Taguchi for one night. We did not get big match Taguchi for 2 other nights. We'll get into that. But it's been amusing. He has been surprising. There hasn't been anyone that feels out of place in this Best of Super Juniors so far. We're talking about 2.5 hour match cards. There are a handful of matches that go about 15 minutes or longer, but all these matches are 8, 10, 11-minute matches. The matches today, Best of Super Juniors Day 4, ridiculous, the match times. There was only 2 matches, or 1 match that went over 12 minutes. 8 of the 10 matches went less than 10 minutes. 7 of the matches went less than 9 minutes. Just boom, 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 boom. And they're fine. It didn't feel like it was the big, to-do card that the cards have been up to this point. So, Night 3, however, and we're going to get to that right now, that was a heck of a show, I thought. So, we're going to get to that one right now. We had the first of the Cork and Hall shows that we're going to have in night 3 and Night 4. There were 1,470 people attending. ELP and Chris Charlton were on commentary. My notes here basically said the last 2 matches were fantastic, but there were a lot of good stuff in this thing. We got Titan pinning Taguchi via an O'Connor roll in 2 minutes and 34 seconds. So the story of this match was Taguchi really feeling himself because he closed out the show the night before and had this great match. And Titan caught him, got him in on a O'Connor roll, and the match was over. 2 minutes and 34 seconds. Not enough to catch you by surprise, but enough to be like, match was getting underway. You're in that sense of I'm settling in for it, and boom, done. Okay, cool. Moving on. Second match was Francisco Akira versus Ninja Mac. The story of this match was basically Francisco Akira's walked in. He wants to win this whole thing. And Ninja Mac, they are playing up the whole, I went viral. This is my moment to shine. And so Ninja Mac using a couple of little extra moments to just kind of kind of feeling himself. This is the moment I've been waiting for in my life. This is the most attention. I'm going to show off. Kira was not having any of that. He gave Ninja Mac and Akira fireball to the back of head after 4 minutes and 41 seconds. Also, maybe not the work rate night for these guys, but an entertaining story match. After that, we had Robbie Eagles pinning Kevin Knight after a Hyperion Busaiku style kick to the head in 9 minutes and 21 seconds. These guys have been in the ring plenty of times as the Jet Setters and TMDK, and Kushida. Very familiar with each other. This was the first match where it was just this Kevin Knight has really come a long way from where he was a year ago, 2 years ago. And he may have, told the press that WWE came knocking and he told him to kick rocks. Good for him if that's the case. This guy believes in himself and his stock is only going up. Robbie Eagles is, frankly, one of those guys that does not get enough credit for how good he really is. He makes everybody in the ring look better than they are or brings out the best in them. Full stop. And I've been meaning to try and find something and an opportunity to say something really good about Robbie Eagles because he quietly does good work. He's one of those guys in the background. A lot of attention is paid to Kosei Fujita in that tag team with him. And rightfully so, Kosei Fujita is a star. But Robbie Eagles is bringing a lot of that out of him as well. So flowers to him. I'm glad he got the pin on Kevin Knight here. It was a good match, and I know that they're both going to have even better matches going forward. After that, we had Robbie X pinning Kushida after a top rope corkscrew senton that looked fantastic called the X Express. Top rope, does the weeble wobble jump, lands on top of the guy, goes for the pin. 8 minutes and 51 seconds. If you've been paying attention to, what Robbie X does, he is a completely competent wrestler in the ring, and there is going to be an aspect of his charisma that is going to eventually come out. He is representing Bullet Club, but he's not really a war dog. And so he's got him and Clark Connors are kind of aligned with each other, kind of not, kind of on the same page. He is a heel. Clark Connors is a little bit of a babyface. It's a little muddy, but we're gonna get there eventually, and we're gonna get there. But there's definitely potential with Robbie X. Everybody who's saying this guy's got the goods and it was a good idea for New Japan to bring him in, absolutely correct. So next up, we got Mao pinning Taiji Ishimori after a running palm strike called the Osaka Rinke Upper in 9 minutes and 45 seconds. this was the move I mentioned previously that I was really hoping that if you could run back time, that Mao would have felled Kevin Knight with, because I think that would have been a fantastic thing, and really would have like told a story that Kevin Knight's really just taking a lot of shots to the chin, kind of to the face, and might be his weak spot. They did the super kick. He did the same thing, but you would have gotten over Mao's finisher as well as really selling that, in addition to the ass kicking that Kevin Knight took before he came over from AEW Dynamite, that had things gone a little differently, this guy might be going all the way, but it doesn't really feel like this guy is going all the way in the best of the Super Juniors this year. Brad, while we're talking on the subject of Mao has done everything there is to do in DDT. I think it's time for NJPW to poach someone now and sign him. Oh, how the shoe is on the other foot. Yeah, I think Mao is incredibly talented. I think he fits in a New Japan ring, and if there is going to be an upward mobility for some of these DDT guys, including Takeshita, which, frankly speaking, it seems like there is enough of a relationship there where, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for New Japan to bring Mao on if, that leaves room for DDT to develop other guys, because, DDT is all about developing and creating a promotion. And these guys aren't sticking around forever. They're not sticking around in New Japan forever. We got the gaijin talent that we're always starting the clock with. So that's the way of the world with these things. But you're absolutely right, Brad. I think that's a great call on your part. Next up, we got Yoshinobu Kanemaru and Clark Connors. You guys all remember that cage match, right? Yeah. I just kind of thought Clark Connors was going to lose this match as a result of, got to get that win back kind of thing for Kanemaru. And he did in the most House of Torture way possible. Clark Connors failed to make the 20 count back to the ring because Kanemaru pulled the Eddie Guerrero, loosened his boot, and when Clark Connors tried to pull Kanemaru out of the ring to lose the 20 count, he fell backwards only with the shoe while Kanemaru remained in the ring. You expecting anything different from a House of Torture match? Really? Do you? Nah. We all know this is exactly what it was going to be. And it was. So here we are. And we have one chapter of the House of Torture Bullet Club break before Dominion in the books. What do we got next here? We got Master Show and Yo. For a lot of people, like Tony Khan, this would be a dream come true match for him. You know why? Because these guys were big in 2018. As with Rocky Romero, and they've had their differences over the years. Show and Yo going back and forth, and it's fine, totally fine. We had Yo trying to chase Show back to the backstage, trying to plant a kiss on him, and he made it all the way back, and then he backed back out into the main audience when Yujiro decided to come out to defend his friend who was going to be sexually assaulted by another wrestler, and they're the bad guys. So that's a weird dynamic. Anyways, tons of House of Torture interference. It's exactly what you thought this match would be. Show pinned Yo with a shock arrow, and we shall revisit this probably when House of Torture challenges Yo and Master Wato for those junior heavyweight tag titles at one of these summer shows upcoming, because I spoke it into existence and now it's going to happen. Next up, we got Master Wato and Dragon Dia. Totally fine match. 8 minutes and 20 seconds. Master Wato pinned Dragon Dia with his Recitamente, which was his Best of Super Juniors winning move from a few years back. Not much to say other than this match, other than Dragon Dia's got a lot of potential. Really special guy. Master Wato starts to really feel like a veteran in the division. I could kind of see a little bit of maturity in his face and his eyes that this guy's getting a little bit older, might be putting on a little bit of mass. He might not always be in the junior heavyweight division. But for right now, he's right where he needs to be, doing what he should be doing. And this was a good match. Speaking of good matches, maybe great matches, perhaps the best match in the tournament so far. The match I chose to represent the episode of Speaking of Strong Style this week, we had El Desperado and Nick Wayne. You've been eagle-eyed on social media. You know that El Desperado has wanted this match for a very long time. He has told Nick Wayne that he has wanted this match. He told Nick Wayne years ago that he belonged in the best of the Super Juniors. And when Nick Wayne was announced for the best of the Super Juniors, El Desperado's response was, "Is your mom coming too?" Because El Desperado is thirsty. And he likes his blood, and he likes his thirst. Can't blame the guy. He lives hard, and he dies hard. However, he had to eat his words in this show because after disparaging Nick Wayne's lovely mother, Nick Wayne pinned El Desperado with a Psycho Destroyer in 15 minutes to a stunned Korakuen Hall crowd. I don't know what to tell you other than make a point to watch this match. This is a fantastic Nick Wayne match. This was the debutante, the cotillion, the debut. This is a match that'll put Nick Wayne on the map. He went toe to toe with El Desperado, and he looked like he belonged. He looked fantastic, and I don't know other than just, hey, stop what you're doing. Go check this one out. This one is a winner. I really, really like this match. I think it is very the only one that really comes close to matching it for me is probably the match after or the Akira Kosei Fujita match on night one, which leads to a basic conversation that Kosei Fujita is having a tournament of his life right now, because the next match up was Kosei Fujita and Hiromu Takahashi, in which Kosei Fujita pinned Hiromu Takahashi with a thrill ride in 16 minutes and 53 seconds. Again, the last two matches on this show are stop what you're doing and watch level of fantastic. And there was nothing on night 4 that even matched this. So I'll tell you that now. If you're looking for the 3 matches, it's that night 1 match with Akira and Kosei Fujita. And it is these 2 matches on night 3. And then you'll want to check out the Ninja Mac match with Robbie X. And then pick and choose after that. There's nothing bad. There's nothing that's going to leave a bad taste in your mouth. But those are the ones that you're going to want to check out. That just flat out. And so if you're listening and you're wondering, those are the ones right there. Kosei Fujita is having the match tournament of his life. He and Akira both seem to me as the 2 guys that you could have win this tournament. I'd have no problem with whatsoever. There can only be one winner. They're both in the same block. You're going to find out in the first night of post-block play which one of these guys is going to the finals. But to me, it's one of those 2. They're heads and shoulders above anybody else. And I am not going to say what was said, but, I was in the WeWork Stiff Discord, and if you want to join them, just go over to the WeWork Stiff, get a monthly or yearly subscription. It's only $10 for the entire year. They are insightful with the storytelling aspect and the lore of New Japan, which allows me in some ways to more clearly and concisely explain some of these other things that happen, because they're able to really draw back that history. I think they're invaluable personally, and maybe I'm not supposed to say that, but I just think the world of those guys. But they have a Discord, and they talk about the shows, their shows, the New Japan shows. But one of them, they just had a great story about Francisco Akira and how hard and determined he was to work in the New Japan dojo and to be there. And it really makes it clear to me that this guy is going to be in New Japan for the long haul, and is really dedicated. And It would not surprise me if he won the entire tournament. So where are we now? We're going to go to the last night of Best of the Super Juniors. Actually, you know what we're going to do? We're going to answer a couple more of these comments and questions before we get to this last night. Colin Matthew asks, where's Walker? I assumed he and Chris would be on comms. Well, you know, Walker was in LA for Resurgence, and so he was not going to make the first 2 nights of travel. I was, you know, a little surprised he wasn't there for Corrigan, but maybe they gave him the week off and gave him a couple days off. Chris Charlton could cover the duties from there. You know, he had ELP, but I imagine he'll probably be back this weekend for the shows that start Saturday and Sunday. Made sense to me. Brad mentioned, I love that Ninja Mac tried the Will Ospreay pose after landing on his feet after an Akira top rope move. And Akira wanted none of that and knocked him out for the win. You know what? That was what I was trying to verbalize. That is a fantastic, excellent observation. It was the Will Ospreay pose. And him trying to star out and be that was pretty fantastic. So... Colin Matthew asks, yeah, what the hell is this kissing gimmick all about that Yo's doing? Yo's at that point in his career where he's kind of defining his own thing. Like, you've seen this in New Japan and in Puro Wrestling. There's, you know, the ambiguous sexuality characters that exist, and, you know, people having fun with the gimmick, you know, people respond to it. Always in like a non-threatening sort of way. So I think it's kind of what we're seeing with Yo. He's been doing this a really long time. You know, we're going into potentially year 10 and on with him kind of territory. So if like he knows that this is what his career is and this is what he's doing, and you know, never gonna be the guy. Just sounds like he's having fun and, you know, maybe gaining a few fans along the way. So it is what it is. All right. So we got the let's see. Let's find one of these other questions that we had earlier. Oh man. Mr. Mike Gilbert of the Mike and JD show on hiatus asked, what's the status of Mikey Nichols and Royce Isaac? They both worked on TNA shows recently. Well, Mike, kind of went into this on the Discord, but there's a lot of super freelance guys, you know, it's like guys that they'll bring in that are like mainstays to call up and say, hey, we want you for this date, whatever. But Royce Isaac is working everywhere. He and TJP worked Maple Leaf Pro the night after. Shane Haste is accepting dates all over for June, July. Mikey Nichols, I think, is back home in Australia. He just worked one show in April for an Australian indie, and I think he's, you know, spending time with the family because that was the original reason why NXT didn't work out. It's because he had a young family and there was time issues spending time with them. So I would not be shocked whatsoever if that ends up being the case. Is that, you know, New Japan is working on a budget. You know, TJP kind of mentioned on the Super J Cast that New Japan isn't spending money where he believes that they should be spending money. And it's like, cool, TJP, that's not really your prerogative to, you know, be in that decision-making process, but you do you, buddy. These are all guys that they don't have to pay year-round, but they can be like, hey, come on to the show, we'll have you. Some guys will say yes, some guys will say no. You know, Royce Isaac and Jorel Nelson, Tom Lawler, Fred Rosser, all of these guys, you know, it's like there seems to be a little bit of writing on the wall that, you know, these aren't going to be guys that they're going to be accentuating and working with. Does that mean we're getting more traditional New Japan talent? Does that mean we're getting more AEW people coming over and just kind of cutting out the middleman? I really don't know. But it really does seem that the super freelance status of a lot of these guys that aren't on the traditional year contract, like Royce Isaacs, Mikey Nichols, Jorel Nelson, probably even TJP, you know, it's like, that's kind of the status that we're at. If TJP is working for New Japan, but he's only working in the States, that kind of tells you everything that you need to know about where they're working on that. For another one, Brian Zillum asks, why does Moxley fear Yano? Chaos Goblins. Brian, everyone should fear a Chaos Goblin in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Do you remember that Yano was the first person to hand Moxley a loss in the G1 when he came over and decided to make his presence felt? And then it all spiraled down and he didn't win the G1. He didn't make it close as a result of that one Chaos Goblin moment by Yano. Yano's a true shooter. People don't remember that. But he's got more shooter history than Moxley. I'll just say that. I'd fear Yano too. Chaos Goblin with the shooter background. You kidding me? I want no part of that. We're going to answer a couple other of these questions after we get through this last one and kind of wrap this thing up. So we have the night 4 of the Best of the Super Juniors. Corkin Hall again. 1365 is the attendance. You're welcome, Stephen. Chris Charlton on the call by himself. Run through this really quick. I got to tell you guys, there wasn't much to this show. It was fine. I watched it a couple hours ago after I got off of work before the show to make sure I had everything down. Had all the stuff. And, Taguchi started the show. Again, still feeling himself, but he's gonna take down Show in this one-on-one match. Chases him back to the ring from the ringside to the back area. Who shows up again? Yujiro Takahashi. So, they run up the stairs, that little ramp area near where the hard cam films. They got the handheld cameras. Taguchi's no fool. He's going to go to that door. He's going to make sure Evil's not behind the door. Evil showed up and against the match against Dio. Opens the door. Not Evil, but it's Sonata in those Seth Rollins red boots that he wore that one time, coming to the walkway, and Taguchi's like, I'm gonna stand to my dying breath. Takes one shot, crumbles down to the ground, manages to get the upper hand by a couple of low blows to Sonata and Yujiro and makes his way down to the ring, in which Show follows him down. Ring bell starts. Taguchi then rolls him up in 5 seconds. Yes. Taguchi got a 5-second pinfall off of Show after 5 or so minutes outside of the ring, in which the ring bell never rang. Sure, fine, whatever. Okay. That's basically the mood that you should have with this match. Don't get angry. It doesn't matter. It was the opening card, and at least it didn't go that long. Next up, we have Dragon Dia pinning Clark Connors with a Reptilian Rider, which is kind of like a Canadian Destroyer / flippy move, and turning into a sunset flip. It's really impressive, and it was definitely a surprise win for me. Dragon Dia gets the win in 5 minutes and 32 seconds. This is kind of like one of those 50-50 matches where I think it's more for the math than anything else. After that, we had Yo pinning Kevin Knight with a Dragon Suplex. And frankly speaking, this one kind of surprised me. I thought at some point Kevin Knight would be getting a win in the first couple of matches of the Best of Super Juniors. But we may be having the comeback chance that's just like close but not close enough kind of story. The back end story of the guy making the comeback. It's entirely possible. I never really considered him as being a guy that was going to win this tournament, especially since he has hopes of winning the G1. So I think as long as he looks strong ending the tournament, he'll be fine. But a lot of losses to start out the tournament isn't exactly how I thought this was going to work out. Yo was fine as well. One of the longer matches on the card with 8 minutes and 24 seconds. And that should tell you everything you need to know about this night so far. After that, we had Kushida pinning Ninja Mac with a Back to the Future in 5 minutes and 53 seconds. Again, a lot of Ninja Mac really feeling himself, kind of, showing off, preening, and Kushida taking advantage of that for the most part. He did do the Ninja Special again, and he actually called out Pat McAfee on the broadcast. Like, showing Pat McAfee, hey, can you do that? I'm like, I don't think Pat McAfee can do that. Frankly speaking, I don't think a lot of people can do what Ninja Mac can do. If you've ever been on Reddit or social media, you'll see videos about like peak male performance, right? And it's this 5'6", 5'8" guy that's not really in shape, but pudgy, husky, got a little chin like mine, whatever. And they'll tell you like, this is peak male performance, and this dude will literally just do a backflip out of nowhere on ice skates into like a cement pool for like skateboarding and hit whatever move that he's trying to do, and just look right back in the camera. It's like, that's peak male performance, and men will tell you that this is impossible, but this is what it is. And it's just one of those. That's the vibe that Ninja Mac is giving off right now. It's just like, this is peak male performance, and he is just paying for it every time with his arrogance. It's a great story. It's fantastic. And I'm glad that Kushida got a win on this one. But that is kind of the story that we were going with on that one. Next up, we got Nick Wayne pinning Robbie Eagles with the Wayne's World. The story of this match is that Nick Wayne is doing a tremendous job, and he seems unstoppable. But he's got a left knee that is starting to really kill him. And every time he didn't hit a move, every time he did hit a move with that left knee, he was selling like crazy. He got lucky. He hit a Wayne's World. I thought with the way that this match was going that Robbie Eagles was probably going to dismantle him, but it says and tells you a lot about how much belief and support there is behind Nick Wayne, that he frankly pinned Robbie X, who was very recently IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champion and has done very well in New Japan in the past. Really kind of a shocking win. At some point, that knee is going to catch up with him and be the story of Nick Wayne's probably downfall. But total babyface. Eagles was a little bit of the heel here. And I still think that Nick Wayne has a real good shot of being one of the final four on this show. After that, we got Robbie X and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. 4-minute match. A lot of story about Clark Connors giving, the heads up to Robbie X about what to do with Kanemaru. Stories like that. Robbie X pinned him with the corkscrew senton X Express again. Feels like a math match, got to make the math work. Didn't really matter who was going to win this. Neither one of them are going to win the whole tournament. And fine for what it was. After that, Titan submitted Mao with the Ave Immortal in 9 minutes and 20 seconds. One of the better matches on the show. Wato and Mao were both highly motivated to show up and show out. Felt like one of those matches both of them were really looking forward to. And it did not disappoint. Didn't overstay its welcome. Totally good match. Pretty much happy with it. After that, we had Kosei Fujita and Master Wato, in which Kosei Fujita pinned Master Wato in 7 minutes and 2 seconds. I thought this match was really, really good. Kosei Fujita is probably the MVP of the tournament right now. And the move that he used to finish him off was the throw right. That's what I thought. I just didn't write it down. So that throw right is a great move, guys. That and the suplex de la Luna, which is the elevated German suplex that Doki gives to his opponents. Those are probably my two favorite finishers right now. So good match there. And then after that, Taiji Ishimori stole the pin off of El Desperado in 11 minutes and 51 seconds. The story of this was that El Desperado had gotten 2 wins over Taiji Ishimori in the last year, including the Best of the Super Juniors finals and the San Jose Battle in the Valley show that I attended, in which they main evented. And so it kind of seemed like Taiji Ishimori was going to get the win back here. And Desperado needs to look strong, but he doesn't need to win this tournament, and he doesn't need to actually advance in this tournament. He can, but doesn't need to. So along the way, he's going to lose to a couple of these people. Losing early to Ishimori, losing early to Nick Wayne. Those are all those are all interesting moments that put him behind the driver, not behind the driver's seat, and really have to play catch up on that one. And so, not the best match that they've had, but they were the semi-main, and was the best match that they were designed to have, and I stand by that. Finally, in our Best of the Super Juniors coverage here tonight, we got Francesco Akira submitted Hiromu Takahashi in the main event with his ground tarantula move, which was a one-arm headlock while pulling Hiromu's right arm back in a yanking position, leaving him prone in the middle of the ring after fireballs and several moves in which dominance about the future versus the past/now of the junior heavyweight division really felt like it was at stake. This is probably one of the better matches in the tournament. Akira is bound and determined to show up and show out every night and be given the reins to lead the division and, make it a compelling argument. We saw Doki on Taka Taichi Mania, which Brad had mentioned earlier was a better show for the money than Resurgence, which I believe it. Kind of wish I would have spent the money on that as well. But here we are. Hadn't. But it's good to know that Brad was able to tell us all of our woes and misfortune. And yeah. So very good Best of the Super Juniors so far. We're going to pull up the brackets right here. So right now, we got 4 nights of action in which everyone has had 3 matches because the first 2 nights were a mixed block of A and B block both, and then night 3, and night 4 were all of the block matches in there. So right now we got Kosei Fujita in the lead in the A block with Francisco Akira, Robbie Epps, Dragon Dia, all behind them with 4. After that, everyone else has at least 1 win with Kushida, Master Wato, Ninja Mac, Clark Connors, and Yoshinobu Kanemaru, all up for the next one. Let's see. And then in the B block, we have Nick Wayne atop the chart with 6 points, undefeated so far. Following that, we got Teton, Robbie Eagles, Ryusuke Taguchi, and Mao, all with 4 points with 2 wins and 1 loss each. And we have El Desperado, Yo, Taiji Shimori, and Sho, all with 1 win and 2 losses each at 2 points. And then Kevin Knight, trailing in the back, not a win in the world. Got 5 matches to go. Can he get 10 points? Can he get 8 points? Will it matter? These are the days of our lives. So, for the next matchup, the main event is going to be El Desperado versus Mao of the B block. The 9th match is going to be Hiromu Takahashi versus Dragon Dia on Saturday. The match after that is going to be Kevin Knight versus Nick Wayne. Could this be the one where Kevin Knight gets his win back finally? Could be. 7th match, we got Kushida versus Kosei Fujita. That is going to be quite the interesting match as well. After that, we got Teton versus Taiji Shimori. Clark Connors versus Robbie Epps. Robbie Eagles versus Sho. Francisco Akira versus Yoshinobu Kanemaru. Ryusuke Taguchi versus Yo. And opening the show is going to be Master Wato versus Ninja Mac. And those are the matches for Saturday. So let's see here. Gonna hit up a couple more of these questions before we wrap it up today. I want to thank you all for sticking with me here. This was a lot of fun just doing it, you and me and everything. And we'll do this again sometime. Anthony asks, where does LIJ go from here? And should I hold on to my original LIJ hat as a collector's item? I think LIJ is probably wrapping up. The idea of LIJ without Evil, without Naito, without Bushi, without Sonata, with Hiromu being the last original guy. You can argue Shingo later on and whatever, but the identity doesn't really feel like LIJ anymore. You know, like it just feels like you're doing the name, but it's like Okada when Chaos left. Like, is it really Chaos still? You know, like Nakamura's not there. It might be time. And it's not what everybody wants. Maybe there's an opportunity to bring it back, you know, dust it off at some point. But if you're going to do the through line, it feels like there's better days ahead mentality kind of takes the shine off of the faction in general. And that's kind of where I'm standing on that one. One of the other people in the thing, JMS3035 asks, this Goto run, which I'm not knocking, is absolutely successful. Is it a true long-term booking story, or is it just unfortunate circumstances that have clicked? Maybe a little of both. You know, it's like, I think everyone was surprised in the Rambo when Goto won, and then when it was announced that he was going to get the title shot against Zack Sabre Jr., the ticket sales for that show, the New Beginning show, were so good that it was just like, we got something here. And this is definitely a case of sometimes you just change plans because you change plans. And they stumbled into this. I think it's fortunate circumstances. But I think that now that they're into it, I think they're a long-term booking. And if I'm looking at this, I don't see Shingo beating Goto at Dominion. It doesn't make any sense. It just, you haven't built Shingo to be the world beater. If Finlay wasn't beating this guy, right? Like, nobody's beating this guy. And so the fact that you got Shingo and Goto, which is the main event announced for Dominion. Shingo seems like a guy to help cement Goto's legacy, because there doesn't feel to be like any real story 6 months into Wrestle Kingdom with Hiroshi Tanahashi's retirement, 1 month before the G1, where all of a sudden you just belt a new guy because Goto isn't working. But Goto is working, and he's working better than anyone has thought. And Shingo's in a faction that seems directionless, leaderless, in trouble. And we've seen how that's gone with Shota Umino, which is another question that has been asked by the audience. But we're going to do this. And I think Goto's the guy, and I think he's the guy that you use to make the guy to win the IWGP title from him at Wrestle Kingdom if it's not Goto versus Tanahashi. And, you know, they hinted at Shibata versus Tanahashi at Wrestle Dynasty for Forbidden Door. But Goto made it clear on social media that he wants Shibata at Forbidden Door. And frankly speaking, I'd be okay with Goto versus Shibata at Forbidden Door too. Because Shibata's not going to win the title, but that's a match that could really scratch the itch for a lot of long-term New Japan fans. And I'm really, really okay with that. And I feel like you do that match if you do have Nakamura. And I'm not saying that they have Nakamura, but I wouldn't be surprised if Nakamura is in a New Japan ring at some point for at least one match or two within the next calendar year. So while we're at it, let's run down this Dominion card real quick. In addition to that, we got Gabe Kidd and Yota Tsuji for the IWGP Global title, which, God bless, let's find out what happens at Anarchy in the Arena and all this stuff, because these promotions are playing with fire with how fast and loose their characterization of some of these wrestlers are. After that, we got Oleg Boltin and Konosuke Takeshita. They've had another match recently, I want to say in February, but they also had one at the G1 where Oleg Boltin beat Takeshita. I've seen some people suggest that Takeshita, you know, loses the title to Boltin. Wouldn't be surprised, but I really think that Takeshita is just getting another win at Dominion just to kind of, you know, cement his legacy to the New Japan audience. After we got Tomohiro Ishii and Taichi challenging the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Champions Great O'Khan and Callum Newman. The old dads challenging the United Empire. Definitely here for that one. We got David Finlay and Evil in a dog collar cage match. It's not near the main event, and I think this might be a bloodbath. Evil is underrated, so is David Finlay. I think this match will probably be pretty good. And then we got the Hiroshi Tanahashi final road match with Yuya Uemura. And I think this is a fine fine match to have. I kind of thought it was going to be Naito and Tanahashi at this one because of the Dominion big moment, but this feels like an appropriate moment for this one. Colin, I don't know Stardom as well as the other stuff, so I'm going to hold off on this question for Steven, but it is, why are Stardom and New Japan intent on ending factions, LIJ, Stars and Queens Quest, Oedo Tai in the past? It's like, the authenticity factor is a big part of it. It's like, are you keeping this faction alive because it makes you money, or are you keeping this faction alive because it makes sense for the company and there's a natural reason for doing so? That is my argument for LIJ as opposed to the Stardom stuff. Bring that one back around for Steven next week. Let's see. Okay. ShadowZ677 asked, what is going to be the number one goal for Shota Umino within the next year? Is it beating Mox? Is it winning the G1? And should he beat Mox in Japan or do something at Forbidden Door with him to lead to Japan? Shota Umino is a complicated wrestling personality to book and to understand. In a lot of ways, he's the New Japan version of a Nepo baby. Red Shoes Umino is his father, and he's been given every opportunity to succeed, and he has had so far an inability to truly connect with the audience. As a result, there has been booking decisions where he has come close and not succeeded multiple times over within the New Japan arena, to the point where it looks like you need a complete teardown and rebuild to get him to where he needs to be. Right now, I don't consider Shota Umino to be a favorite to win the G1. He could, Yota Tsuji and Takeshita and David Finlay are favorites ahead of him to me. Yota Tsuji and Takeshita being the 1A and 1B and other people. But you could have the revelation kind of moment with Shota Umino there, in which he overcomes his demons. I don't believe that the Moxley match should happen at Wrestle Kingdom. I know that's a hot take. I know that Wrestle Dynasty, Shota wanted Claudio, or he wanted Moxley, and he got Claudio, and it was a sign of disrespect. I think the true, kind of disrespect in return is no, I don't want you at one of those big shows. I want you at Power Struggle or whatever in the fall. We're going to settle this, because Moxley is the stepping stone to the final form for Shota Umino, right? If you are making Moxley the final boss, you are slowing down the progression of a true top guy, because you are making one more obstacle for him to get through. And if you are making that the big time obstacle, you have essentially spent an entire year from Wrestle Dynasty to Wrestle Kingdom telling a story in which was predicated on Moxley's availability. I'm not particularly into that. This is an investment on Shota Umino, and in order to get him there, his final, I have overcome everything needs to happen at Wrestle Kingdom. And I do not believe that Moxley is his everything. I think Moxley is a ghost that he needs to conquer before the final, ascension of true top babyface, if that truly is to happen. And so, where is it to happen? I don't know. But he's going to get lapped, and he's already in danger of getting lapped by Yota Tsuji, by Ryohei Oewa, by Yuya Uemura, by Ren Narita. For what they are set and designed to be doing at their point in the career, and what Shota Umino is set and designed to be doing at his point in career, one of these guys is under-delivering on the potential that New Japan has expected upon them. And is that too much pressure? Is it the wrong position for them to be in? I don't know. But that's the position that he's in. And as a result, what exactly is his ceiling? What exactly is his goal? What exactly are we going to get out of that? I don't know. But for me, unless you really want to draw out this rebuild thing, you don't do this at Wrestle Kingdom, because then you're running it back next year for the rebuild. And I don't want to run this back for another rebuild year. I want this whole story to be wrapped up. And so sometime between the G1 and Wrestle Kingdom, Shota Umino should beat Moxley and then set him up for whatever he's got going on at Wrestle Kingdom. Kind of where I stand by that one. Oh, last one. Look out, Forbidden Door. From top boss Garrett Gonzalez. Well, I'm not really sure, other than the main event would probably be Zack Sabre Jr. challenging Will Ospreay for the AEW world title. Goto and Shibata on the undercard, maybe the semi-main. We got maybe Mercedes Moné and Azumi on that card. Well, we're going to go like 10 matches, right? 10 or 11 matches. Hiroshi Tanahashi will wrestle somebody. He's already wrestled Swerve. He's already wrestled Moxley. There's somebody on the card, maybe Kyle Fletcher or something like that. Somebody that like used to work in New Japan Pro Wrestling, it would really scratch the itch for him. Get one of those last guys on there that he'd worked with that want to do that. So Kyle Fletcher could be a guy that they do that because they already ran the Takeshita match in Windy City, and there are truly a lot of top guy heels that makes a whole lot of sense to Tanahashi to wrestle against. I don't know, maybe you do Jeff Jarrett. I want that last match for Tanahashi at Forbidden Door to be special, and if it's not Shibata, which I kind of wish it was, I don't know on that one. Let's see, Tony Storm and Thekla, maybe. You could run that one at that point. Mina Shirakawa and Mariah May, if they're in it, for women's tag team titles, if they have that going on. Do you think Hurt Business will still be the tag team champions? Because if that were the case, I'd really like to see Taiyuchi and Tomohiro Ishii versus Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin. And then, I don't know, I think we run back one of these matches like Nick Wayne and El Desperado and Kevin Knight and Hiromu Takahashi, something like that on the card that, building it. I think Kenny Omega is probably going to have a match with somebody. Are we doing Gabe Kidd? I don't know. Are we doing Takeshita? I don't know. It would make more sense if we had like a big Bullet Club, AEW versus the War Dogs thing. Because for whatever reason, Tony Khan is hell-bent on portraying the War Dogs as heels and Gabe Kidd as a heel. So that says to me that at Forbidden Door, Gabe Kidd is set to be a heel. And you can run back Kenny Omega and Gabe Kidd one more time. They probably will. But that's kind of where I'm thinking on that. Just kind of, those are the big matches. They'll probably fill it out with 10 matches total, maybe another stardom match. But, 3 women's matches and 4 or 5 men's singles matches seems about right. And then a couple of like BS multi-man matches to kind of fill out the card. We're never going to get Jeff Cobb versus Samoa Joe, which makes me sad, but there are other opportunities there for other matches. I would like to see Kosei Fujita. I'd like to see Yota Tsuji. I'd like to see Shingo. I'd like to see all those guys in the AEW ring at the O2 Arena for Forbidden Door in August. So, guys, you and me, we did it. That was it. We're going an hour and 40 minutes of just you listening to me talk. And boy, my throat feels it. So I want to thank everybody for joining us here today. You can find everything here on the Fight Game Media Network. You can Google us and find the audio feed wherever your major podcast platforms are. Don't forget to email Gigi at Fight Game Media for an invite for the Discord. If you heard it here, please like, subscribe, just share. We rely solely on word of mouth. Stephen Conway is going to be back with me next week. He's going to be talking about all of the great things that he did in Japan with his partner, and we will have a further update on Best of the Super Juniors, hopefully some more clarity about Double or Nothing, what Gabe Kidd's role is going to be, and more. I want to thank you again. My name is Jeremy Finestone, and this has been Speaking of Strong Style.